how do you see the National Zakat Foundation?
NZF is a Sharia institution whose purpose is to plant a seed of community giving. We've created an entire system run by technology. We don't give the mosque money, we release money per applicant, but the mosque is the hub. What I brought to NZF was a vision for where an institution for zakat should be. My brothers were thinking that's a crazy thing to do. Be proactive, be strong, be confident, and be strategic.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sohail. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, very well.
Alhamdulillah. I'm very happy to host you today in the Muslim Makers podcast. A very special guest you came from London. I picked you up from the train station straight here. So how are you doing? Are you in good shape for the podcast? I guess you're not used to it.
I'm in good shape, we'll know by the end of the podcast. But alhamdulillah, I was last in Paris when I was 3 years old. So very excited to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Alhamdulillah. So let me introduce you, Sheikh Sohail. So you are the CEO of the National Zakat Foundation in the UK, also known as NZF. Prior to this, you studied for about 10 years in Jordan. You also hold a PhD on Islamic legal theory from Oxford University. And you became a lecturer also at Cambridge College. Is that complete?
Cambridge Muslim College.
Cambridge Muslim College. Thank you. So we are going to deep dive into the concept of Zakat and National Zakat Foundation and what you do there. But before that, I would like to learn more about you. Also for the listeners, most of them will be from France. I guess a lot of them don't know about you. So can you tell us more about you, what you do, and what you are trying to achieve in general?
Yeah, sure. I think if I backtrack 30 years, if your listeners don't mind. So when I was about 17 years old, I got very much into Islamic studies, traditional Islamic studies. I used to be very good at French until I was 16. But then I started trying to learn Arabic and I forgot all the French because my brain is not big enough to have two languages side by side. And so I did a degree in computer engineering in Imperial College London. But my heart by that time was already in the East. I wanted to learn Arabic. I wanted to do Islamic studies. And so after my degree, I went to Jordan where I had friends and teachers. My intention was to do a year in Jordan and then some years in Syria. But I ended up settling in Jordan. I had teachers, I had friends. I ended up getting married as well.
Oh, nice. Was it in Amman?
Yeah, so I stayed in Amman for actually 12 years, much longer than I had originally planned.
Beautiful city.
Wonderful city.
I understand why you decided to stay there.
Wonderful people. I had no intention to leave. It was a one-stop journey. I had no intention to leave, actually. I was a teacher at a school where I taught Arabic grammar, my first job of my life. I was 23 years old. I was teaching Arabic grammar at a center called Qasid.
Okay. For foreigners or for Arabic people?
No, it's teaching Arabic to non-native speakers. Nice. It became one of the biggest centers in the Middle East now.
I've heard of it, I think, right?
Most Western universities send their students to Qasid. It has a very, very good reputation. And as the other countries became more unstable in that period, Qasid remained, I think, a safe place for foreign students to go to learn Arabic.
Okay.
So I taught there for about 5 years. I then taught about 4 years online, various Islamic studies on a platform that's no longer online. It was called Sunni Path. Then it was called Qibla. And by the end of that period, I met a number of local Palestinian, Jordanian teachers who combined traditional Islamic studies with a really strong academic focus, like a critical, historical, academic focus, with a commitment to traditional studies in a way that I found very inspiring. And it also coincided with a period of myself trying to, I think, go a little bit deeper into the fiqh tradition or the Islamic law tradition. Previously, I had learnt it as a very much like a book tradition. You memorize words and books and you read and, you know. But I think my new experience with some new teachers, it really got me thinking deeply about jurisprudence as legal reasoning. Books teaching you how to think. And as you learn how to think, you learn how to be. So it was a human transformation from the pages in a classroom. I found it very transformative. And I really wanted to research, like these teachers, to really prove that fiqh is meant to be like this, a tradition where you study law in order to learn how to reason, in order to understand how to be in the world.
Yeah.
And so that's what brought me back to England then. And that's when I did my master's and PhD. My PhD, I focused on the Hanafi legal school.
Okay.
And I tried to really demonstrate... Sorry?
The Hanafi in Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan hasn't got a strong old tradition of studies because it wasn't like a big city in Islamic history.
Okay.
Amman has remnants from the Umayyad period.
Okay.
Outside of Amman, and a lot of graves of Sahaba.
Yeah.
From the plague in Karak. So the different Sahaba. So the early Islam was there. There are some castles from the time of Salahuddin. May Allah have mercy on him. But you don't have continuous Islamic heritage, the markers of, unlike in Damascus, Istanbul, Cairo, and the other cities. So it didn't have like an old heritage of learning. Sheikhs came from Syria. So it's a place which took knowledge, in my observation, from neighboring countries.
Okay.
So there's a number of traditions in Jordan.
Okay.
Mostly Shafi'i, very strong Salafi. Sheikh al-Albani students were there. And you also have some Hanafi teachers as well. So I studied Hanafi fiqh in Jordan, for example.
Okay.
And so, so my PhD was about the real, I guess it's how does Hanafi fiqh work? And what is the purpose of Hanafi texts? What is the nature of Hanafi jurisprudence? What is epistemology in the Hanafi school? And then after that, I was very fortunate to teach. Interrupt me, I'm going like a train.
No, it's good.
Jump in.
I like it. I'll stop you if...
I'm worried about your listeners. Maybe you have other things to talk about, so I'm trying to quickly run like a train. But Cambridge Muslim College was a very important period for me.
Okay.
I taught there for 4 years on a BA program. I managed the BA program. And I wasn't told what to do in the classroom. I was given complete blank canvas.
Okay.
3 years, BA, Islamic law, very intelligent students. I can do what I want with them, basically.
Okay.
And what we did was we covered all of classical fiqh, all of it. The stuff that looks practical, the stuff that doesn't look practical.
Okay.
We did the worship, we did the trade, we did the marriage, we did the hudud, the jihad, the slavery. And all throughout, we're just thinking really hard in a jurisprudential framing. What is this all about? What was the world? What are the principles? What's the understanding of the world? And all throughout, what does this really mean for us today? And as the students are learning the art of reasoning, then the conversations get deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And so during the course of that period, it became very, very, very clear to me that Islamic law or Sharia or sacred law, any of these words, it's not primarily about the individual, meaning the individual learns how to practice, but primarily it's about society. Even prayer is about society. Even zakat is about society. And so these are really institutions in a world. Sharia is all political. And by political, I don't necessarily mean big P political only. For us, politics, I stutter on 2 words, politics and charity. So you'll get this today. But politics, we associated with, kings and prime ministers. And by all means, Sharia has something to say about that.
Okay.
But even the prayer is political if you define politics as coordinating a group, i.e. coordinated public action. The Sharia is all about that. And so when you study the Islamic sacred law, you really get to sense that it's a tradition which shows you how faith is meant to tie you to a community, and how a community is meant to be structured, and how structuring requires some form of leadership structure. Even prayer teaches us you coordinate behind a leader. And so the whole vision is coordinated public action, because that is how faith is preserved. And so therefore, if you want to be true to the sacred legal tradition, you have to have a vision of how do you bring about institutions into society where a community can come together, because it's in togetherness that the objectives of the law are found, basically.
Okay.
I'll press pause here for now.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Thank you very much. I have two questions. First one is about your career switch and your career evolution, and what you have been doing. Like, how did you switch from, like, how was your personal thinking when you left the UK to Jordan, and from Jordan when you came back to UK? Did you have a plan, or was it just like, okay, you have some knowledge, you're doing the PhD? Just was it your personal ambition, and did you, because I think at this time you were probably 30 or something when you started your PhD?
Yep.
All right. So it's a time where,
than all of the other students.
Yeah, it's a time when you wonder, like, is it too late for a PhD? Is it not loss of time? Like, what was your thinking at this time, and how did you navigate through this time as well?
So the one constant in all of the journey, really from the age of 18, was this desire to understand my religion, and this desire to understand our tradition of Islamic learning,
Mm-hmm.
at the heart of which I think Islamic spirituality was quite important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and Islamic law was very important to me, and Quranic studies were very important to me. So these three subjects have been moving around.
Yeah.
But it was the desire to understand that has driven all of my journey. So I never intended, for example, I'm going to come back to England and do anything big. I was just trying to learn. But the learning kept pushing me into new spaces. So the advice I tell people as well is, let the knowledge push you. Don't tell yourself, I'm this kind of a person. Just become a blank canvas. Devote yourself to really trying to understand. And as you do that, the step, you don't have to know all the steps. You just want to know the next step. At least for me, that's what's happened. So when I was 30, in the beginning, I didn't like PhD people because I was teaching Arabic grammar and they would come to learn Arabic. And they would ask strange questions. And I said, why can't you just learn the grammar? Why is your mind going in strange places? So I thought it's a very strange types of people that do these PhDs. I had no respect or interest. Then when I was 30, you start thinking, okay, I'm just teaching Arabic grammar. I'm not making lots of money. I'm living in some strange... In Jordan, you had 6 month visa. Every time you have to travel and come back, you don't know, will they let me back in? It's a very strange kind of life, but it kept continuing.
Yeah.
So when I was 30, I thought maybe I should do PhD. At least I have something to my name. And I came to England. I spoke to lots of people I respected, and I met Sheikh Ibrahim Al-Saifa. I met Dr. Muhammad Isa Waili, who's a respected elder in the UK. Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, I met him. Spoke to him for the first time or second time. A few people I met and I spoke to. Should I do PhD? This is what I'm thinking. At the end of that exploration, I decided I shouldn't do a PhD because I don't know why I want to do it. And if I did the PhD then, nothing would have come of it because I had no vision actually. I just thought, should I do it? So I came back, and then events took place in my learning life that 5 years, 6 years later, when I'm about 35, 36, it became crystal clear to me why I want to do a PhD, what I'm trying to explore, and what I want to do with it. Not a career that if I do a PhD, I can be a professor. It wasn't that. It was, there's some questions, I think I have the ability to answer them. And if I answer them, I think I can transform how we educate and learn. So it was a knowledge-driven decision, but my focus was crystal clear. And then I applied to university programs. I had not been in a university for 12 years.
Yeah.
And before that, I did engineering. And before that, I did mathematics. I didn't actually do essay writing a lot since I was 16. So it's a big jump to say, accept me into a humanity, because Islamic studies is like a humanity. It's essay writing and books and reading. But I think because my vision was crystal clear, I was accepted into full scholarships into lots of programs, Oxford and Cambridge and Chicago and Columbia and Georgetown. And I say this to people as well, just to say that as long as you're crystal clear about what you want, your whole journey is going to be interesting. So don't hide it, speak about it. I went to Jordan. All of our journeys are interesting. People feel I'm strange, I'm not normal. Who's going to accept me? and you want to pretend to be something in these university statements. But what I tell people is what makes your statement outstanding is just be deeply honest, because everyone's journey is very interesting, and you want to just dig deep into why are you here. And so I presented a very honest picture of who I am and what I want to do, and all these doors opened. And so again, the point, if anyone is thinking about these things, it's no harm in waiting. Waiting until you're sure, and your surety will open all the doors, basically.
Interesting.
And even then, I'll come to my later career change, but it's always the same. It's, I really want to understand, and I think this is going to open doors where I can help other people understand. And then I just see what doors keep opening, but as they open, my profile keeps changing.
Yeah.
That's the summary.
Do you think being able to do that is a luxury or a necessity for you?
Oh, that's a very beautiful question. We have to accept these are luxuries. The reason why I say that is the fact that we are talking today is luxury. If you and I had to stress over supporting parents and siblings and this, if we had to stress over the basics, we would never be doing a podcast. And so the knowledge is a luxurious activity. This is the truth of it. In the old world, the scholars would either come from families that were well supported, or our universities were well endowed by business people. So it was always understood that society needs knowledge, and knowledge is a luxurious activity. And so if you want a society of knowledge, then the other people, the business merchants, the landowners, they were educated to understand the best thing you can do is support the seekers of knowledge. That's why as time went on, the knowledge institutions were the richest institutions in Islamic history. Because if I'm a farmer, my best thing I can do is I want my children to be scholars. And if I can dedicate half of my farm to this university and I die, I have the honor that for centuries and centuries, my farm will be paying for scholars. And so you need to create, like we have in the modern world, these universities are very rich institutions. Oxford University is an extremely rich institution. It's endowments over generations that allows you to create a space to research, because research isn't an immediate economic transaction. It only works because society believes that research is valuable. So all I will say is anyone on a knowledge journey, there is a luxury in that. It's not an immediate transaction, and it occurs because you have family members or you have something that endows these institutions. Otherwise, all of us, everyone who goes through education is going through some form of a luxurious activity that we have to be grateful for. This is the truth of it. So in my case, I'm the youngest of 3 in a family. And so you always will have, our parents or their parents don't have these luxuries. They have extreme stress of how you can just create a bubble for your children to survive. And so it's like a society as a whole has to support the function of knowledge, but because they know that they will benefit. Just a general reflection on.
But at the same time,
this means.
At the same time, you could have followed different paths.
Absolutely.
As well.
So there's a sacrifice of the person. You're completely correct. So when I finished Imperial College, I told you my first job was teaching Arabic grammar. I did already have a job with IBM as a graduate program to be a consultant. So I had to let go of that. My brothers were thinking that's a crazy thing to do. I had developed a very autoimmune illness actually by that time. So by that time, my parents or my father was saying, do what makes you happy. Hopefully you'll get better. So in my case, if I didn't develop a serious physical illness, probably no one in my family would support me doing what I did. So I probably wouldn't be here with you again. So these are these matters of destiny, if you like, in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I had developed a very serious illness, which everyone around me then said, don't worry, do what makes you happy. Hopefully your body will recover.
And it did.
And so their body recovered, and it opened a new course in my life. So you're correct. There's personal sacrifices where you don't prioritize career, you prioritize understanding. You prioritize, I want to understand my religion.
Yeah.
I want to travel, and my joy is in sitting with wise, respectful, pious people. And that's better for me than making lots of money. So your values have to change if you want to live this life.
Okay.
So there's something in you,
switch?
There's something in your surroundings, and there's something in the fact that knowledge is the fact that you are able to sit and learn. So there's a few factors that all come into this journey.
Yeah, but what do you think made you switch in terms of internal thinking that really you wanted to do something else and not follow traditional path of career?
So like I said, I had an experience when I was 17. I went to a summer intensive Islamic studies program. That changed my life. That's the bottom line. For 1 month, I was with teachers who really impressed upon us the glory of Islamic civilizations, whose glory was knowledge. This is the truth of it. Our greatest output as a civilization has been knowledge. Knowledge has informed our architecture. Knowledge has informed our politics. Knowledge has informed our economics. Knowledge has informed everything.
Yeah.
Islamic society is a society of knowledge. And so when you're a young person and you think, wow, I never knew any of this existed, you just want to be a part of it. Yeah. So that's what it was, basically. And I never was able to look back again. This was just the most interesting thing to me.
Yeah. When you look at the Islamic civilization, do you look at it with nostalgia? Do you look at it in a way that you feel part of it, or you want to rebuild again? Because there is a lot of people, I don't know in the UK, but in France, like they look at it as, yeah, we did a great thing. You never did anything. That's well, people of the past, right? And that's how they were, the golden age and things like that. And they want to, they're like very nostalgic about that. How do you look at it?
Yeah, no, it's a very, very good question. Again, I've allowed this knowledge journey to keep pushing my next steps. So until the age of 30, I feel that I was incapable of having an original thought. It's very strange. It was just learning, studying, and is that right or is that wrong? Is it? And
yeah.
And so I'd say after 30, I started this, I think, trying to look deeper into what is fiqh really about. And it was at that stage that I felt this is meant to be a living tradition, but many of us treat it as a dead tradition. And as we treat it like that, we are actually betraying the tradition out of love for it. The metaphor is like there's, let's say somebody's sick in bed, and you want to look after them, but you put the blanket over their head and they're suffocating. The idea is you love the tradition, but your love for it, if you're not careful, you're actually killing it because you're treating it as if it's dead. You're treating it as if it can't solve a real problem. You're treating it as if it's not meant to guide you now. Rather, it makes everything difficult now, and you can only live it in a bubble somewhere. And I think we betray this tradition from that. And so a lot of my interest over this last 15 years has been to really grapple with, again, in my academic work, it was with Islamic law. What is this really about? What is zakat really about? And then this idea that we have to build something in the world. Fiqh is a vision for the world. And as somebody who's devoted to this tradition, you have to... So I realized I never did any activism in my life. I was trying to learn. I wasn't watching TV. I was in these bubbles, if you like. No activism, no protests, no politics.
No advocacy.
None of that. But now the fiqh, I feel, requires activism. The fiqh is telling you there's some beautiful ways the world could be. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep talking about it? Or do you have an impetus to move the world then? So I think the fiqh requires us as a collective to be world movers, economy shifters, social agents, you could say public actors. And so no, for me, this tradition is moving me to join people who want to move the world, not out of antagonism, not out of reaction, but out of a proactive sense that this teaching has something the world needs, and we are required to bring it into the world to the best of our ability. If we do that, we are faithful. So faithful became a word I started using. Faithful to the tradition. And if we don't do any of that, and we just keep rehashing and rereading, we are not loyal to the tradition. We are actually we are contributing to killing something that we love without realizing it. That's what I believe.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting. And so if we come back to National Zakat Foundation, so I think that's after you started to teach at Cambridge Muslim University.
Cambridge Muslim College.
College, sorry. Yeah, college in the UK. Yeah. So that's where after that you joined the National Zakat Foundation, right? Not as the CEO first.
But basically, no, I joined as CEO, basically. So while I was doing the PhD, I was close to NZF during my PhD.
I see. Okay.
And it was because the idea of a National Zakat Foundation, just the word, it corresponded so well to everything that I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
That the sacred law is about institutions we should bring into the world. And so just the word spoke to me. And so during my PhD, part-time, I worked in research and development at National Zakat Foundation. And then in 2021, I joined just a month or two as Deputy Chief Executive. Then I became the Chief Executive.
Great.
And just this note about trajectory for young people is management was never a thing I was thinking about. I've read some management books though when I was in Jordan. I found them very good for, I guess, personal development almost, and how organizations function. So I had some management reading, but it wasn't like an objective of mine. But the fiqh made me into a manager, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think what I brought to NZF was a vision for where an institution for zakat should be. And the fiqh is informing me in that, my fiqh studies. And I took into NZF an experience in articulating a narrative. That's where jurisprudence comes in. The idea that in law, or when someone studies Islamic law, you get statements of the law. But the idea of jurisprudence is to string the statements together to be able to articulate what is that really all about.
Yeah.
So it's this articulation that I've brought into NZF, or that I've expressing through NZF as we engage our communities and as we build a communal vision for our community in Britain. What do I mean our in Britain now? So this comes back to very simply, I said that Islamic law is communal at its core. Prayer is bringing a community together in a mosque. Jumu'ah brings a city together behind a leader. And the idea is that to live our sacred law, we live it as ummah. We live it as community, because that's how we find strength. That's how we find faith. And that's how we can represent our Prophet ﷺ, because we represent him in France. We represent him in the UK. As individuals, we are weak and flawed. But as a collective, we can represent him, and we have to. And so therefore we have a duty, not an option. We have a duty to form a structured collective, because that is how we can represent our Prophet ﷺ and his teachings in this world. So I don't consider organizing zakat as a choice. I consider it a duty. And what do I mean by organizing zakat? Two things. One is the fact that in classical fiqh, zakat is meant to be paid actually in the city where you live. Our scholars debated, is this a sunnah or is this a fard? But they all accepted it's the premise of zakat. And what does that mean? It means to be a Muslim. And the other thing, in the classical fiqh, most scholars said zakat is paid to other Muslims. When you combine the two together, what does zakat tell you? It creates this impetus. If I'm a Muslim in Paris, I should want to know who are the other Muslims. What are their needs? Are the needs being met? can we trust some people here with our money? So make sure that it circulates. And so what you do, you start building community. You start building an infrastructure to move money. And you start building this sense that if you're a Muslim, don't worry, you're looked after. We have infrastructure. And so what you start creating is a infrastructure for care. The mosque is an infrastructure in space. It brings a community of faith into a space. Zakat is an infrastructure of care. Once you're in the space, how can you look after each other? Salat and Zakat are foundations for the entirety of that history we were speaking about. Great civilization and great this and great buildings and great knowledge. But what's at the core? It's spaces where a community of faith can come and know each other. And it's systems where they can care for each other. And as you do that, it makes belonging really meaningful. I'm glad I'm a Muslim. We look after each other. We're strong together. This faith speaks to me. It starts a journey for the individual, but it also starts a journey for the community. This mosque brought us together. Let's have other spaces where we can educate. Universities started in the mosque. Courthouses started in the mosque. There's research that shows the universities of Europe came from the universities of the Muslim world, which came from the mosque. So the mosque is the educator of the modern world. We just don't track its history. That's why the 5 pillars are the seed of civilization. If we could reenact the zakat in Paris, it's just the seed, it's not the end. You start developing systems of social care. What are ways we can move our money to help people so they're not homeless? To help students so they can get into jobs. And you start a virtuous cycle where they want to do more than zakat. Islamic civilization's mark wasn't actually zakat, it was the waqf. The idea that there's public institutions funded from civil society, not from government. As time goes on, more and more free services. But zakat is the seed of the waqf. You get people understanding if you circulate wealth in a community, you look after each other. People want to do more. They do more charitable giving. They do more cooperative housing projects. It's the seed out of the usurious economy. The usurious economy is destroying the world. It's making it hard to own a home. It's creating a burden of debt that's destroying the environment. A burden of debt that's destroying many things. The seed away from that is actually zakat. It's the charitable economy. It's community infrastructure. It's civil society giving. So all I'm saying is NZF is a Sharia institution whose purpose is to plant a seed of community giving. And we live in a time when the public infrastructure is collapsing. You can tell me more about Paris, but in London, in the United Kingdom, National Health Service is struggling. National benefit system is struggling. National economy is struggling. Cost of living is rising. In a time like this, it's an opportunity and it's a challenge. What's the challenge? People start blaming others. You came to the country, you destroyed the country. Without thinking, actually, it's the usurious economy. It's the high inequality. It's the lack of production. There's many things destroying the country, but they scapegoat. And this is not healthy for the country as a whole. It's not healthy for anybody. The scapegoating, the hatred, it destroys the infrastructure. It's not constructive. That's the challenge of our time. But there's an opportunity as well. What's the opportunity? Is that if we can create systems of community-led giving, we can create models of cooperation across civil society. We can create models for other communities to follow. Why? Because the old model of social care, before the modern state, it was community. It wasn't government. Communities look after communities because it's my duty to make sure you're fed. Simple as that. The modern state tried to replace that. As it's getting weaker, we can champion the old model of communities looking after communities. And as we model that, we can catch society as it's falling. We can create a net of cooperation. Although zakat is primarily for Muslims, i.e. the way it circulates, we can cooperate with others in how we work with zakat. So for example, in National Zakat Foundation, we cooperated with the Christian Housing Project. We covered the cost of their Muslim residents, so their funding can go further.
Yeah.
There's very interesting ways we can cooperate in creating a net of opportunity. So I'd say at NZF, in short, it's a zakat project in the UK. We distribute zakat all over the United Kingdom. We distribute about 7 to 8 million pounds of zakat in a year. We are the largest giver of cash grants in the UK. Of all institutions. We are the largest givers of individual grants in the UK. And so we are a considerable partner in welfare while championing our Islamic sacred law. We are in the beginning of our journey, but I think it's a journey Muslims all over the world have to follow. That's what made me join this project.
Fantastic. This is very interesting, and may Allah put barakah in this project. And I think the way you described it is very inspiring. So you mentioned the fact that you advocate for local giving for zakat, at least. What about the different categories of zakat? Is that something you look at, and how do you make the distribution? And also, I know that I've heard that the platform is very technical, a lot of technical tech in it. So how do you incorporate all of that as well?
So to take your questions, what I believe a national zakat foundation needs to be, I call it, we're building a national zakat system is what I call it, which is a situation whereby every Muslim in the United Kingdom can feel comfortable knowing that because I'm a Muslim, I'm part of a community that's going to look after me. If I have a surplus, I pay into the system. If I have a deficit, I have the right to withdraw from the system. And this, I believe, will be the foundation for a future on which this community will find its voice, will find its activism, will find its representation, will find its contribution in society. Now, and I believe that's the vision of our sacred law. I called it creating systems for a community to come together with leadership. I believe it's the greatest foundation for the community to come together and develop our leadership. In order for this to happen, what I believe is NZF's journey is, I call it politics bottom up. Politics top down is, I'm the government, I'm in charge, I'm going to tax you, and otherwise I'm going to throw you in jail.
Yeah.
Politics bottom up is consensus building. It's creating something that everyone can feel a part of. And that is the strength of politics bottom up. To do that, I believe we have to work with zakat in a way that our communities in the United Kingdom feel comfortable being a part of. Otherwise, you'll stay a small project in the corner.
Yeah.
Rather, the goal is a national system, because there's nothing like this anywhere in the minority world. A project everyone can be a part of and be represented by. There's also projects like it, but I think there's a gap that zakat can fill because it's money.
Yeah.
People coming together to look after the needy. So to do that, our understanding and practice of zakat has to be one that is consensus building, consensus based, people can be a part of. And so for that reason, now in the UK, due to the history of the colonial power in the UK is different from the colonial power in France.
Yeah.
The original migrants in the UK, the main waves of migration, 60s and 70s from the Indian subcontinent, which are from a Hanafi land. And so in the Hanafi school, every recipient of zakat is meant to be needy, even in the different categories.
Okay.
These are categories of needy Muslim.
I see.
And so that's the bar of where everyone can be comfortable being a part of it. That's why our zakat project, it's all working with needy Muslims. We help them with hardship, we help them with housing, we help them with training to secure shelter. And we're working in that space to grow this national network.
I see.
In a future, if you've built real national representation, then you can, on behalf of the community, move the community to other ways of thinking about zakat. But I feel you have to create that mandate for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And how do you create the mandate? It's by winning trust. And I think you have to demonstrate trust, win a mandate, because zakat is like tax. tax is political. When you do politics bottom up, you have to earn a mandate. As you earn a mandate, you can work with zakat as a semi-political actor, which unlocks other categories of zakat.
I see.
That's one classical understanding. That's how we're working. But the Islamic legal tradition is broad, and people have the right to explore many understandings of zakat. And there's always a mandate required. The minimum mandate is the mandate of your individual giver. If your giver trusts you to work with zakat in political lobbying, which is one interpretation of mu'allafat qulubuhum, or, for example, some form of social activism, which can be one interpretation of fi sabilillah, as long as your givers believe that you have a mandate, then that's all you need. You're representing your givers and you're acting. But there always has to be a mandate because you're representing givers in its least. But if you build what I feel is a national network, you're more than representing givers now. You're representing a community. That's the idea of a communal institution. That's what our scholars said we should build. And it's not just representing givers anymore. You're representing the entire community. That's the wide mandate, which I think unlocks the full political range of zakat theory. If you like. But I'll say in short, though, there is a spectrum. And as long as your givers feel that you should act in this way, I think it's a wide conversation. And why did I talk about colonialism a little bit? Is the Muslims in France don't come from the places the Muslim in Britain came from, the wide spectrum. I think you should engage here local scholars and their traditions. And I think you can create a very unique movement here. I'll just say that in short. Zakat is broad, and you should work with your scholars to explore what is the best expression here. Quickly, last thing I'll say on technology, we've invested a lot in technology in National Zakat Foundation because, again, I think we're leaders in this, Muslim and non-Muslim. The idea is we believe we have to create a community movement where people feel they own the zakat system, because that's how it's going to grow. So we've created ways to decentralize the zakat giving. We are partnering with mosques. We've created a system where people can come into a mosque, get a zakat assessment. The mosque has a system to capture the identification and the assessment. We also authorize that, and they can distribute cash or they can go to the post office. So we've created an entire system run by technology. We don't give the mosque money. We release money per applicant, but the mosque is the hub. And therefore people find the mosque and not just the money. And people start a journey in community. We have an online system where you can find where it's like a heat map, where the money is coming and going. You can get an email to let you know when the zakat has been distributed. And so we are using technology to power community giving. And I think that's the future across the space of tech and finance and community. If you look at the wider narrative, even Bitcoin, it's decentralization, empowering community, but using technology to cover that space of trust, which hand to hand doesn't give. And so we believe we're in the cutting edge of really what is a global movement of decentralized trust through technology, but really it's powering community.
Very interesting, fascinating. Thank you, Sheikh. What do you think? You have joined 3 years ago full time, right? About 3 years, 3 to 4 years.
Almost 4 years now.
4 years.
3.5.
How do you see the National Zakat Foundation? How have you seen it grown over the last 4 years? What do you think is very promising, and maybe the main hurdles that you have?
So in terms of in the last 4 years, when I joined, NZF was a purely online platform. You apply online and you get the support digitally. What we added was when I joined, I wanted to truly bring about the local zakat of the classical fiqh, which is about city communities. And like I said, I think that's the cutting edge conversation in many circles anyway, but it comes out of our fiqh as well. So we created this program, we called it the Community Zakat Program. That's been our flagship over the last 4 years, which is a system whereby we partner with mosques and centers. And the idea is people are finding a journey in community now. So you come to your center, you meet people, they meet you, they get to know you. You get to know them, and they have other services that you didn't know about. Zakat is a peg in a community journey. And that's been growing. There's a lot of interest in this. So we grew it from a pilot in Bradford and London. Now we've got 4 partners in London. We've got 2 partners in Birmingham. We have an entire foundation we're working with in Leicestershire. We've launched with 3 in Manchester. We've launched now with a council of mosques. There's 30 mosques united. We got a Zakat seed with them. We've just started in Nottingham. We're planning to go to 5 more cities this year. So we're now growing the idea of city hubs.
Okay.
What's the future is, can we create city hub conglomerates, let's call it for now. The idea is it's hubs that can work together in a city to not only distribute the emergency cash, which is what we're doing now, but to really come together to represent the needs of that community. I called it local leadership. The whole sacred law wants us to build local leadership, because that's when we can really represent our needs, and that's when we can be a force for good as well, not as individuals. And then the next part that we're trying to see is, how can we create this city leadership, empower them to represent the needs of their community, and then empower them to be partners in the welfare of those cities. That's what I said at the beginning. I said a lot of our local infrastructure is crumbling. You either watch it crumble or you become a collaborator in its standing. And so how can we connect that to local healthcare, to local government? How can we become part of the conversation? How can we share data and get data to improve our work and their work, so we can become part of the national infrastructure of welfare? Because that's where I think you've become. Because, you know, Muslims in these minority settings, there's different theories of how you can be represented, how you can have a seat at the table. What I think NZF can do is, without trying to be overtly political, but by simply being a champion of welfare, I think it can naturally be a part of the table.
Definitely, yeah.
And so I think that's the future, and everyone's excited about this, because we are already moving. Zakat is very powerful. The global Zakat movement is about $600 billion. The UN is trying to tap into Zakat. So in the UK, as the Zakat pocket is growing, people want to understand, how can we benefit from your work? And so even if you're circulating in the Muslim community, I've illustrated previously how that can be of great benefit in many local councils and boroughs and communities. And so I think that's the future I'm seeing: a strong community looking after its own, developing innovative systems of care, becoming a national leader in the question of welfare, and therefore becoming a national voice for how we can improve our communities and societies.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Sheikh. And regarding the hurdles?
Hurdles in our community are a few. One of the hurdles is there's nobody in need. Why are you giving zakat in the UK? This is a welfare state. And this hurdle comes from a people who are not involved in the community. Because if you are in any community function, in a mosque with a food bank, or if you're volunteering at a homeless shelter, or volunteering in youth career spaces, you'll realize how much poverty and need there actually is. Muslims in the UK are by far the most impoverished faith community. I always lose the stat, it always shifts, but let's say approximately 50% of UK Muslims are in or near the poverty line. And so it's a very struggling community, but people don't want to know about it or talk about it. And so this ignorance about where you live is what the sacred law comes to cure, because it has this impetus of build your community where you are. So treating this ignorance is a barrier. Then the other barrier is, why are you spending zakat here? There's lots more needs overseas. When you come to that conversation, the very important thing is to say, it's not either or. It's not everything here and nothing there. It's just the fact that zakat is blessed. I think it can do many things. We don't have to be greedy over all of the zakat. What we have to do is educate people about local need, and educate people about the duty to build our local infrastructures. That's all. It's not a fight over the zakat. We partner with international relief charities, and some of them give their zakat to us for UK. So they collect for international relief, like Islamic relief, like Muslim Aid in the UK. They collect for international programs, but they've all realized we have to increase our local projects as well.
Yeah.
So they have some zakat they give through us within the UK.
Okay.
So it's not either or. It's how can we collaborate in the good, but we have to build something here. The other barrier and challenge in our community is trust. Can we trust you with our zakat? That's where I recommend whoever builds a project like this, work with local scholars, understand local understandings, and work within that space. Zakat is creative and impactful at any level. Don't think I want to do some great thing, which I understand is possible if nobody else understands it, because zakat is powerful in all of its levels. That's why, remember I said in the beginning, follow the journey of knowledge. Take the step, it's all powerful. Work with your community, because if you don't get them on side, you won't win their mandate.
Yeah.
If you don't win their mandate, you will stay a micro actor.
Yeah.
That's how you get this challenge. In the public society, there's not many challenges. The wider community would love to see. And because in many of our countries, Muslims are impoverished. And this is a drain on society. It has social ills. As we create a model of looking after our own, people will only want to support this and tap into it and learn about it. So there's no big challenge, actually. People want to see this move, and it will be a positive contributor. But many challenges really is what I call winning the national mandate, and that's all working within the community. That's where I think the real challenges lie.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Sheikh. Sheikh, we are reaching the end of the podcast. Maybe a last question for you. Do you have any personal message to give to the French audience that's following us?
I look at France from the outside. From the outside, we always see ourselves as more privileged than French Muslims. We don't have niqab bans, we don't have hijab bans. So we see ourselves in a better place. But we also know that the tides are moving. Even if you forget the Muslims, the tides are just moving. As what I called the economy is shrinking, many things are shrinking. It's very hard to read the future. We have the rise of far-right politics. They come to rise out of a hatred of migrants, and they particularly like to hate Islam. All I'll say to you is as follows. Our sacred tradition is a map for how we can be strong together and how we can contribute strong together. So I don't want you to feel weak. I don't want you to feel defeated. I don't want you to feel miserable. I don't want you to feel on the back foot. I don't want you to feel hatred. I want you to feel that the plan of Allah was that a group of the believers would be in this country. This country is a significant country. This country sits in very important tables on international councils, which have a say in many things that impact people all over the world, Muslims and non-Muslims. You have to feel that Allah put you here for a wisdom, and you have to feel that you owe it to Allah and His Messenger to realize that wisdom. How do you realize that wisdom? Is by committing yourself to following the sacred law of your Prophet ﷺ to the best of your ability. And that sacred law at its core is what we've been talking about today, building institutions. And by institutions, I don't mean fancy names and fancy buildings. It's opportunities where Muslims come together for the greater good, where Muslims come together and find community, find solidarity, and realize that as you do that, our scholars of old debated, should Muslims live in a non-Muslim country? Some said no and some said yes. The ones who said yes, they said, some of the Shafi'i scholars, they said that you can't leave, you have to stay living there if you're able to practice your faith. Why? They said because the wider society will benefit from you. You have to understand that your Prophet ﷺ was a mercy to the worlds. He brought an economic theory that's a mercy for people, that doesn't have the inequality of this economy. He brought a charitable system that was a mercy to the world. It circulated wealth and created infrastructure. He brought a family message that's a mercy to the world, because it's the breakdown of family that people suffer from. You have to understand that you represent your Prophet to your neighbors, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you as an individual might not be knowledgeable and might not have the best manners and might not have the most skill, but as a community you're very strong. So forge your communal ties. Know that this relationship is a sacred relationship. That's what zakat is teaching. Because when you say La ilaha illallah and I say La ilaha illallah, I have to look after you now as a duty of faith. Honor your ties. Don't pull down your own people. People have, your community will have different theories of leadership. Some will try to be close to the politician. Some will try to be away from the politician. Some will try to be close to the mosque. Some will try to build their own spaces. We will have our own theories of how we can serve, support each other. Don't pull each other down. Create your spaces of care and understand that your Prophet wanted well for the world. So when you see the hatred, understand that it's a few people taking advantage of a bad situation so they can have power. And they've chosen stepping on you as their ladder to power. But most people aren't those few people. Most people just want to get on in life. They want to have a happy life. They want to cure their anxieties. They don't want to be depressed. They don't want to be struggling for their daily food. You have something that will benefit them. So just respond positively. Be proactive, be strong, be confident, and be strategic. If a door is closed on you, it's fine. You will find another door. It's okay. If they banned one thing, okay. But they haven't banned that thing. So be strong there. Is that making sense? Be strategic. This is called politics bottom up. Every time you read the old history of the great politics and the great moves that people have made in the past, you are doing great politics today. You are a part of great history. Be clever. Be strategic. Come together. Don't pull each other down. Explore ways where you could be strong for your community, because when your community is strong, you can be strong for society. Society doesn't hate you. A few people are taking advantage. Build your own bonds. Build your infrastructure. Allah put you here for a wisdom, and it could be that in the future, your community will stop a future genocide in the Holy Land. You can't stop it today. It could be in the future, your Muslims of France were the ones who created peace all in a land you're not even from, because this country is consequential and you are consequential. You are a very important community to the planet. Always be positive, and where there's no blockage, move. Move with confidence, move with faith. And may Allah, through you, benefit the entire planet, because He's put you here for a wisdom.
Ameen. Thank you very much for your time, Sheikh, for your wisdom. I really enjoy our conversations. I hope we can host you again in the future, inshallah. We'll meet you tomorrow, actually, for the Makers Conference. The podcast will be released later, inshallah. Anyway, for all the listeners, you can retrieve all the information regarding the podcast. I invite you to follow the podcast. All the links will be on the description. I'll also put the link on about the National Zakat Foundation if you want to learn more about this and how to follow Sheikh Sohail, inshallah. Sheikh Sohail, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan wa assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.